everyone. It is Wednesday. How you doing tonight? What are you and you, but especially you, grateful for this evening? Tell me about it. Tell me about what is going on in your world tonight. That is what I want to. If we can. That's a little bit better. Hey, Kitty. Happy Wednesday. I hope all is good in your world. I hope it is. It is great to have you here live tonight on this Wednesday night. I hope Princess and the other cat, I don't know why I can never remember the other cat, Princess, I know is one of them, are doing well. With your meds, are you allowed to have the ice cold mountains with us tonight, Mama, Princess and Mama? You think I could remember that? You think I could remember Princess and Mama? Names is not my strength, but it is good to have you with us. It is good to have you with us live. I hope you're feeling well tonight. Hey, Carrie, how are you tonight? Great to have you here tonight. Great to have you all here. Hope all is well in Florida. Hope things are nice there. We're making this mad dash. Oh, poor kid. We will drink for you. We will. I might just pick up a couple tours then, so I can have a drink for you. I'll work on that. I'll see what I can do for you. You know, I that strict diet thing isn't fun. I know that, but on the mend, on the way to a better kitty. That is what it is. So it won't be long before you'll be out on your mower and having a nice spring season. So I know it is in your future. I know it is in your future. In the meantime, we got gin and tonic tonight. So I will do that for you. I will do gin and tonic for you tonight. Oh, well, I'm glad to have you all here tonight. I hope you're having a good evening on this, the 8th day of March. The 8th day of March already. Oh, well, that's not the worst thing either, Kitty, having somebody. I've always enjoyed having somebody for that. I will never forget one of my stories growing. Well, it's late. I was out of the house already, but my brothers were back home. My brothers were back home, and they called. My one brother called my father at the pharmacy. He called up my father at the pharmacy and said, "There's some guy out there mowing the lawn. That's my job," my brother said. And my father said, "I'm tired of arguing with you and your brother, my other brother." And my brothers would argue about whose turn it was to mow the lawn. And so I hired Joe. And my brother was like, "But that is my job." And my father was like, "If that is your job and you're going to do that, then you go outside and you take the lawnmower out of Joe's hands and you tell Joe he's fired." And I think you know the rest of the story. Cleaning the gutters is a good thing. Cleaning the gutters is a good thing. Yeah, I got, I don't know what I'd do without Bill. Bill is our landscaper, and especially with all the land I have now. I have never embraced that, but I'll never forget that argument between my brothers and calling my father at work about that. Let's get started tonight with the Stay Positive book. The Stay Positive book is how we start every night. Every night we start with the Stay Positive book. Tonight we are on page 198. Expect success and you'll find more of it. We get more of what we focus on. Every day that you choose to work hard and not settle is the day that leads to the life you want. The life you want. That is so very true. So very, very true. And that's actually what got me thinking today because just before I stopped for gas just before I got home tonight at the gas station just down the street from the house, and I pulled out of there, and the sign on town hall on the front of town hall said, "Think spring." Okay, and that got me thinking. As we started heading into tonight, I'm like, yeah, when you think those thoughts, and it's funny how the Stay Positive book always finds me. Um, you get those results. So thinking about spring, you start hearing things differently. You hear the birds chirping in the morning, which they are chirping out there now. The birds are making their way back up north. You hear that. You notice that the sun is shining a little longer in the day. You notice that next week we spring ahead. Sunday, when we meet here on Sunday, we actually spring ahead, even though that is not the first day of spring. That is when the clocks change. And that is not an argument about whether the clock should change or shouldn't change. It's an argument for the mindset of springing ahead, the mindset of moving forward, thinking positive thoughts. The Robins are back in Illinois. All righty. These are good things. And that is what those positive thoughts bring positive results. So I told you tonight we were going to start talking about rent, okay, and retail rents. And so to get into that, we really need to talk about what makes up rent. And it's not always cut and dry, okay? So we need to talk about what makes up that. And I wanted to bring this topic up because there is um, a lot of rent news in the news right now. There's a lot of retail rents and discussions about rents in the news for retailers, and there's a lot of data coming out that hasn't necessarily been made public before or widely available. So there's a lot of stuff out there right now, uh, and I wanted to dive into that and talk about it. I wanted to dive into that and talk about it because there is just so much going on. Um, but before I get into the to the real meat of it, we have to dissect what rent is, okay, and how you pay it because most people and especially so in this business just talk about either rent per square foot, rent per square foot, or they talk about my monthly rent check. This, okay, my monthly rent is this, okay. But rent can be made up of several components, and so I wanted to dissect the components tonight. We actually understood that because that's the basis when we look at what's happening with rents in the retail marketplace, what's happening out there. It really helps you got to understand the basics first. You got to understand the basics first. We have to walk before we can run, something like that. So, rent ultimately is always looked at from a retail perspective on a per square foot basis, even if you've never looked at it that way before. And you look at it on all your square footage, not just your sales floor. Okay, a lot of people like, well, I have 1,500 square foot space, but only 1,000 of it is sales floor, so I only count 1,000. No, you count all of it. You count everything you pay for. Okay, and ultimately you pay for everything, even if your landlord gives you an extra storage area out back. Well, that just makes your cost per square foot go down a little bit. Okay, you're still paying for it. It's included. Okay, it's never there's no such thing as free. It's included. And so when we look at it, okay, to get your rent per square foot, we take the total annual rent. Okay, that is your rent that you pay a year, and divide it by your square footage. Okay, so if you spend $1,500 a month and we multiply that by 12, that's 18,000. Okay, if you had 1,000 square foot store, that would mean you're spending $18 a square foot. Okay, just let me say that again. Okay, if you were spending $1,500 a month, we multiply that. I got the calculator here, so we multiply that by 12, gives us $18,000. I don't know if that's coming through with the glare. $18,000 on the calculator there. Okay, we divide that by, let's say your store is 1,000 square feet, and that makes your rent $18 a square foot. Rent is entirely local. Okay, what you pay in one part of the country or in one city in a given state is not necessarily what you will pay in other parts of the state. A lot of times on here we have Kitty, who's in one part down by the Capitol. We have Julie, who's all the way up by the Wisconsin border. Their rents are completely different. Okay, two completely different parts of Illinois. And Marianne, who's an often watcher's in the middle between the two of them, her rent's completely different. Okay, and that rent is very local. Okay, it is to your local market, whether you have a good deal or a bad deal. It doesn't do you any good to compare to somebody in a different state or a different area because everything is local with that. And that's base rent. Now there are other components of rent depending on your lease. Okay, some of you have pay what is called CAM, or common area maintenance. Okay, which is your proportional share of the plaza you're in. Okay, so if you're in a 30,000 square foot plaza and you have a 1,000 square feet, your proportional share would be 1/30th. Okay, or let me make the math simpler. Let's say you were in a 10,000 square foot plaza. Let me back that example up. 10,000 square foot plaza, and you had the same 1,000 square feet. Your proportion of common area maintenance would be 10%. Common area maintenance is things like snow plowing, planting of flowers and plants and other things for maintenance of the plaza, putting up cleaning of the parking lot and the common areas of the plaza. It could be maintaining common area bathrooms and cleaning those. If you share bathrooms in between spaces, let's say there's a public bathroom. It could be putting new striping the plaza, the lines of the parking spaces. Anything is common that you share with others, any of that maintenance cost is common area maintenance. Some of you pay that, okay, in addition to your rent. When you calculate your rent per square foot, you would include that fee. The other thing that some of you pay is called triple net. Okay, so some of you pay just CAM, common area maintenance, and others pay triple net. Triple net is the net cost, your proportional share. Again, if you're 1,000 square foot store, 1,000 square foot plaza, 10% would be your bill. Triple net is the net cost of insurance, taxes, and common area maintenance. It's all three of them put together. It's your proportional share of that you are paying. Okay. And I know this gets a little weedy, okay, but it's important to know what your obligations are. Okay, because if you know what your obligations are, you know what you have to sell. And so often sellers don't know what they need to sell to be able to pay the rent, what you need to be able to sell. They hear this number, $18 a square foot, $15 a square foot, $10 a square foot. And I think, well, that seems reasonable, but they don't do the math. Uh, I also will add that that is the accounting way to calculate rent per square foot. The way I am talking about it is the accounting way and the way most people of the Mississippi calculate it. There are a lot. It is in a common practice, especially west of the Mississippi, to calculate that on a monthly basis instead of an annual basis. It makes the number smaller. You know, if you say eight instead of $18 a square foot, say it's $1.50 a square foot. That sounds more affordable. Okay, but it is not an annualized number. It is a monthly number, and not an accepted accounting practice, but it is an accepted realty practice. Okay, it's an accepted realty practice to do that. The other component of rent that some stores have, not a lot of resale stores do I run into this with, but it does exist out there, is a percentage of sales, or a percentage of sales over a certain amount. So, like your rent covers you up to $250,000 in sales. But if you do more than $250,000, hypothetically, you pay an extra percent or 2% or whatever your lease calls for. And I don't have a lot of people that I work with that have that arrangement, but that is very typical. I want to say it's an old-fashioned mall lease. Okay, allow a lease like that has allowed national chains to expand, in the malling of America. As America's malls grew, that became a standard practice where you had a lower base rent, but you paid a percentage of sales, and you had to report your sales based not on the honor system, but not on the honor system. You had to provide a copy of your sales tax return. Whatever you provided to the state for your tax return is what you had to provide to your landlord, and that you were calculating it. And they did that because your sales tax return, what you're providing to the state for your sales tax, is signed under pain and penalties of perjury. So you were already, if you were lying on that, you were already committing perjury. So if you were perjuring yourself to the state, you were also perjuring yourself to your landlord. And from a legal perspective, that was bad. From a legal perspective, that was bad. So those are the components. Those are the key components that make up rent. And as we compare it to other retailers, which we will get into, we will be diving into as we dive more into that, and what other businesses are doing and what other businesses are paying for rent. Because I've got a lot of very real data to talk about now. Um, the important aspect of that is, what does a resale store do? So, we talked about paying $15 in the example I've been using tonight, $15 a square feet, but for 1,000 square feet. Right now, it's $1,500 a month, $18 a square foot. All right, $1,500 a month, or $18,000 a year. $18,000 a year was the example I used. See what happens to me when I make up examples on the fly? I versus having a note card there in front of me. I gotta make sure I stay with the same example. Sorry about that, guys. But so with $18,000 a square, $18,000 or $18 a square foot, our stores examples 1,000 square feet. What do our sales need to be to pay for that? Okay, keep yourself healthy. Rent in the resale industry should fall between 6 and 12%. So if we're just using somewhere in the middle and say, okay, 10%, we need to at least $180,000 in sales, okay, which would be $15,000 a month. Be a be in a healthy range of rent to sales. So rent to sales, and that's an important number to calculate going into a lease and to just know within the lease that you have, okay, whether you have a chance. I mean, so often we fall in love with a place, okay? We fall in love with a place and it, and talk ourselves into that this is the best place in town. This is the only place I could ever do business. Um, you know, where everybody that makes it has to be, and that is not true. You can make it. Um, you can make it anywhere if you can make it here. Um, don't talk yourself into a bad lease, especially knowing what your product mix is. So in this example, with an $18,000 annual rent, and I always do one of the math that I always do in a lease, okay, and it freaks people out, but it should it scares you into reality. It doesn't freak me out, but it brings it very real. Is when I'm signing a lease, I look at the term of the lease. So if I'm signing a 2-year lease, a 5-year lease, I take that annual amount and I know what I'm on the hook for. So in the example we did here, where it's $18,000 a year, if you sign a 5-year lease, that's 90 grand. That's you are on the hook for. Okay, and maybe that doesn't scare you. That's okay. That's okay. Numbers that scared me when our business was smaller, numbers that would scare me now are two very different things. But you need to be aware of what that cost is. Okay, what you are putting yourself on the hook for, and then know what use the 10% rule. If you multiply your annual cost by 10, you fall in the zone. Okay, the zone for rent is 12%. And if you're newer, can you achieve that? Can you sell enough shirts? Okay, can you sell enough dining room tables or sofas, whatever your product is? Can you sell enough of that? Or is that going to keep you up at night? Is that amount going to keep you up at night? And that's something only you can decide. Okay, what keeps one store owner awake, is just a blip to another. It's all relative. So let's be aware of that. It is very relative. And I'm going to share with you on Sunday as we delve a little more into this. Okay, we're going to get into what other retailers are paying. But this 6 to 12% rule really does work for retail stores. I can go in and know whether I'm working with a healthy store, and that doesn't mean that if you're at 13%, that everything's coming to an end, or you're at 15%. But when ratios are out of balance, okay, it's sort of like when you're out of balance. Okay? If you're a little too heavy in the stomach, or it all is relative. Okay, because it hurts something else. It means you can't spend as much on payroll, and you run staffing shortages. It all becomes relative. And speaking of relatives, here's Florida Angie. Hi, Angie. How are you tonight? Great to have you here. So just know that matters. So those are your components. You have the rent. You have common area. You could have common area, and you just may have rent. You may have what's called a gross lease. And you pay one amount and it's fixed. That's a gross lease. You can have common area maintenance. You can have triple net, and you can have a percentage of sales, and you can have the real banger where you have a combination of all of that. Okay, and there's no one right way. There's no one right way. Uh, you know, Things are starting to shift in the industry where things are going back to more of the growth, where everybody knows that there's a fixed amount and it's more things are starting to trend a little bit that way, but these are very, very common, well ingrained practices, and you need to know and understand yours so that you can understand where you fall in and understand how you fall properly within that. And that's what makes this so important to know and understand. You know what else is important? This video and everything I this video and everything I talk about is over the YouTube channel. You're not alone running this show. Where you can like, comment, subscribe, and oh yes, ring the bell, ring it so you know when another one drops. You can also share it with all of your friends and business, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, you know, everybody builds a better business, take it to the next level. I'm here every Sunday and Wednesday at more Ish, Sunday and Wednesday at more Ish. But if you have a question for me, just email me. Neil, N-E-I-L at nextlevelresale.com, N-E-I-L at nextlevelresale.com. We start the program every night with the Stay Positive book, the Stay Positive book, where we start tonight. We're on page 198. Expect success and you'll find more of it. We get more focused on. Every day that you choose to work hard and not settle is a day that leads to the life you want. Playing to win requires a commitment to yourself that even if you fail, you'll never give up and never let your goals and dreams slide. Look beyond yourself today. Instead of focusing on your problems, focusing on helping others deserve. There you go, folks. Stay positive. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Neil Abramson. I do like a good party, a wedding, a bar mitzvah even. We will party again. We will party in person. But until then, and until Sunday night at more H&M, no thank you. And you. But most importantly, you. Yes, you. You're not alone running the store. Have a great night, everybody. It's time for dessert. Hey, CD, where did you stay, kid? Have a great night.